nirmala kenyam biya kamal ka Nuer online TV channel update bukon ngwasame ki malka dung South Sudan ka Tumaini peace initiative dan and lat kere which ka Kenya chan update meling bakulun jokaya banam to bana yakul linkel dianganama.
As we all know that we started the second phase of the Tumaini negotiation process on the 20th, on March the 20th. And on that day, we found ourselves spending Monday, Tuesday, and almost Wednesday discussing the name by which the opposition intend to continue the negotiations. What we know, the name that we know the opposition with, the name that we are negotiating with, is the opposition and the holdout groups. But suddenly, we realized that they had formed another political military organization, which they call United People's Alliance, and we objected to that, and we continued to discuss that for nearly 2 days. However, we moved on subsequently on Wednesday, where we shelved the name issue, the identity issue, and went on to discuss and agree on the agenda, which was a good development. And we proceeded to discuss the agenda, beginning with the root causes of the problem, or the root causes of the conflict in the Republic of South Sudan. We discussed that for a very long time as well, and we requested the opposition to enumerate what are these causes of the conflict in their view. So we had a response from the stakeholders and also from the opposition, and a compiled document from the mediation, which apparently was discussed by the stakeholders, the mediation, and our previous government delegation and the opposition. And we expected that we would only have one paper from the mediation, which will be a compilation of the root causes. Nevertheless, we got all these root causes finally, about 19 of them, which we subdivided into 7 headings. And today, we listened to the responses of the opposition to our response, our analysis of the root causes, which we found to be nothing but issues that are addressed in the RRCs, at least contained in the articles of the RRCs, may not have been implemented, but they are in the RRCs, 90% of them. And all of us in the whole agreed that yes, the RRCs is a good document. The content covers all the issues that were raised, and they were mainly things to do with institutional reform, to do with empowerment of institutions of the agreement to implement the agreement. And these are not things that should cause war or conflict in our country. Like anywhere else, reform is a gradual process, and we have explained substantially that if there are any other that are not in the RRCs and they're in the Tumaini, they should be listed as a contribution of the Tumaini to enrichment of the RRCs. So now, today, we ended up saying, okay, we have agreed that 90%, 95% in the RRCs, we formed the committee. The job of the committee now is to identify what is not in the RRCs so that they are enlisted separately and would constitute what we believe will be an agreement on that subject. But I want to tell our people that this is probably the most important subject that has been bothering us since Addis Ababa to Khartoum to Rome, and no one pinpointed exactly what they are. Finally, we got them. There's a political connotation, there's political explanation where the opposition is pushing that the root causes is about leadership failure or power struggle. We've explained that leadership is not just the presidency. It's the ministers, the advisors, the governors, the leaders of the church, traditional leaders. Everywhere institution is a leader. So when you talk about leadership failure in South Sudan, it's not just about the president or the presidency. That would be a political statement that we do not agree with. So now that we have agreed to form a committee to fine-tune harmonize this issue on the root causes, we formed a little committee, and then we moved on to discuss the relationship between the Tumaini initiative and their access. And in fact, discussing the root causes provides a relationship between their access and the Tumaini. And for us, the access is the background, is the backbone for any agreement we reach with anybody. So the challenge we have done is to remove anything that is repeated, anything that is contradictory, anything that institutions that contradict the institutions already established. But we agreed to expand them in order to include our brothers and sisters in the implementation of the remaining provisions that are ongoing or outstanding. At that point, our chair, the head of delegation, decided that we would adjourn and that we would return on Saturday or Sunday because we have a task to do in Juba where the transition, the extended transition starts on 22nd, and we have to prepare ourselves to usher in that transition so that the institutions that are concerned with the implementation of that of the R-Access are led, managed to prepare their programs for the next transition. We feel that it's very important that we are there because the head of the delegation now is also the head of the NTC, and 4 of us are in the high-level standing committee that is in charge of implementation of the agreement. So there is wrangling and there is concern that the return of the government delegation may be hampering the process. We're saying no, it is a right in negotiations that there's adjournment so that parties look at what has been done, refresh their minds, return back. In our case, it's a genuine request because we have to implement the extended period of the R-Access. That has been agreed in general, but with consultation to see whether we can tweak it a bit and see how that fits in. It caused concern, but it's not big concern. We then went on to present why the government is objecting to some of the structures, and to explain substantially that some of them interfere with the function of the presidency. Some of them interfere with the function of the JDB, and some of them interfere with the function of the NTC, as well as the high-level standing committee for the implementation of the R-Access. And those should be aligned to the R-Access. The opposition have requested for an adjournment for 15 minutes. They've been given 15 minutes, but we thought that at this point it's important to address our people so that they understand where we're coming from. Our objective as a team of the government is to make sure that what has been achieved is not destroyed, but that we will work hard. The government will work very hard to find the means to implement the remaining provisions. Because really we found out that the whole blame on the government is about failure to implement the provisions of their access. That's it. But when we read articles and articles and articles, and we compare to what the Tumaini says, we find that they're actually copied from their access. So we want to assure our people that we are not here for ourselves. We are here for you. We are here for stability under the R-Access. And this claim that maybe the government does not intend to sign an agreement is a lot of political rhetoric. And this big hope that Tumaini will solve all the problems in South Sudan, I think is an over-exaggeration of a situation that is unnecessary. And we want stability in our country. We want our brothers and sisters to join us in this process. We also insist that with the agreement between the government and Gatwich, all other forces that are out there that have not been contacted, that are not in the Tumaini, ought to come in. Not necessarily to be in Kenya, but to be recognized under the Tumaini and we invited to come to Juba, and we agree among ourselves, discuss in Juba among ourselves, and create a platform for ourselves to discuss issues among ourselves and make peace between our people so that we can take the country to election and stability. Of the parties to request adjournment. But we have not determined how long. The head of delegation and the delegation of the other side and the mediation will agree on that, and we'll get to know.